Hey, how are you? Okay, let's add. Okay, we have Yehuda here. Hey, Yehuda, how are
Hey,
you? How's it
hey, doing well. How are you?
good? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Thank you for being patient with me. Okay, I'm
Hold
just.
on, I'm getting a technical
Oh,
issue.
Blima's here. Hey, Blima, how are you? I'm gonna greet people meanwhile because I know a bunch of these people. Let's get you back on, Yehuda. Hi, Blima. Hi, Keith. Hi, Mac. Oh, hi, Mac. Yo, what's up? Okay, let me just get Yehuda back on here. Invite him back. Okay, and see who else is at this party here.
All
Oh, we're back.
right, it worked.
Yeah, okay, we're good. So we have like 5 or 6 people here, and I think that like more will join. But
Yeah,
I,
sure.
but I think that we should just get started. I also want to say, first of all, can everyone see me? Am I in the screen? Because I don't see myself fully. Uh, okay, whatever.
Looks like good lighting to me.
Okay, awesome. Um, guys, if anything's like cut off or if you can't hear, just throw it into the chat. And also, I just want to say that if you have any questions that you want us to kind of address, throw it into the chat and we'll pay attention to it and see it and hopefully address it. So who do you want to take the lead?
Yeah, so we wanted to go live. We've been talking for a while, and we definitely agree on a lot of things with relationships and couples and polarity. And one of my big things is I like to reach out to different coaches and people that I agree with and like, and just kind of explore topics together and talk about things together. I think it's a really important step for the space and to talk. So what we want to kind of contribute to the space tonight is the approach of polarity between the man's perspective and the woman's perspective. So kind of jumping into it, I want to explain what polarity is
Yeah,
and also have your POV on it as a women's coach.
yeah.
And so,
So
yeah, so well,
I actually work with some men, but mostly women. And I think that you do the same, which is that you work mostly with men, but
correct.
maybe some women. I'm not sure. But
Yes.
I'm really happy to be on your platform. I really hope that your like watchers and viewers, especially the men, are listening also, because I feel like one of the things that I do is I have women take a big part in shifting the dynamic, like take a lot of responsibility for that, and they're able to, and it's a lot of work, and they can do that, they can make that shift in the dynamic happen on their own. But it's just so awesome to be able to be speaking to the men also. And I bet you feel like that
Yeah.
also, like you want to be speaking to the women too, right? So
A lot of
great opportunity.
definitely speaking to the women, and a lot of the comments I get and a lot of the interactions that I get are from the women. Like, I wish there was a man talking about this, and there needs to be more men in this space talking about this. So
Yeah, yeah,
here I am, everybody.
likewise.
Um,
And the same on the other, and the same in reverse.
yeah,
So yeah, so I think just explain a little bit what polarity is, because I think to you it's obvious, but I don't know if everybody understands that term and what it means and how important it is in the dynamic.
yeah, 100%. So polarity is just a scientific term. It just means when opposites attract. So, let's take a magnet, for example, and you have positive energy and a negative energy. That is what comes together, actually. And when you have a positive and a positive, they retract, and a negative and a negative, they retract. So within relationships, if there is obviously a male and a female, and she's way in her masculine, way, uh, uh, in what we call the lizard brain,
Her
not feeling safe,
her
not feeling,
her mammal her pre-mammal brain, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly. So like, not feeling safe, not feeling taken care of, that puts her in her quote unquote masculine. And what that does, it's very hard for her to feel embodied in her feminine. And you have two masculine energies, so to speak, uh, operating in the relationship. She becomes not trusting. She doesn't feel like she's being taken care of. She doesn't feel like she can rely on him. She doesn't feel like that he's going to show up and take care of her in every way she needs. Those are two positives together. They will retract. They will push away from each other.
Yeah.
So that's really what polarity means. That means settling into your natural role as a man, settling into your natural role as a woman. They are opposites. Men and women are not the same. I'm here to say it. I don't care if people want to fight with me about that. We are not the same. And we need to recognize that and fall into and take leadership on where we're at and where we are can take the lead in each role.
Yeah.
So that's what polarity is. And I specialize in coaching men in particular, but couples. I have a lot of couple clients as well, on how to be embodied in their true, safe masculinity and femininity. So yeah, that's polarity.
Yeah, that's awesome. So thanks for explaining it. And I think I actually did a poll. I have a WhatsApp community with over 300 members, and I threw a poll up there this morning of like 15 different things that help. And I said, this one's for the women. Choose the three traits that you find that would be the most attractive for men, like what you find attractive in a man. And I did the same for the men. What are three traits that are most important for, that you find most attractive in a woman? And and it was in summary of kind of exactly what you just said. But one of the women said that they find it attractive when men are able to help them hold their emotions, when they take the lead, and I don't remember the third, but I wrote it down. And I don't want to switch screens because I'm afraid I'll lose the whole live if I go back to my WhatsApp chat. So I'm not going to switch screens, but let me see where my notes are. I did write it down. And then the men said that they want, the women should trust them as providers. Yep. Right. To trust them as providers, to make the home a place that's welcoming. And there's a lot in that, because one person might be hearing that and thinking cook dinner, and someone else might say clean up, and someone else might think don't criticize, right? And just be welcoming. And it could be any and all of the above. So there's a lot, in that. And receiving with gratitude. And and I made a list of like 10 or 15 top things, but these were the important things. And I think that it speaks to the Kabbalistic idea in polarity also, of the giver and the provider and the protector and the receiver, and the one that can contain what's being provided for. That's when everything is working beautifully. I don't like to get stuck on the ideal. Like, I don't think that we do anybody a service by talking about the ideal, because I think that maybe a little bit it's good to just clarify what the ideal is, like what we just did. But I think that it's really important to talk about where people get stuck and why they get stuck. Even these books that are written for women, like The Surrendered Wife, so it talks a lot about how to, how great it will be when you surrender, but it doesn't talk about the fear behind the surrendering. And I'm sure that, in the men's books do very similar things, which is, show up and lead, but it doesn't talk about what happens when women become critical and how they shut down and how to deal with that. And
well, women are becoming critical, for example, because they don't feel safe. Right. And it starts to feel pressure on them to show up in her own way for herself. And if she's not with a man who knows how to help her feel safe and communicate that properly, it's a big issue. Like this, the surrendered woman is a very interesting topic, because one of the things that I teach and fully believe in, and I think we've spoke about this, you and I, is that relationships are not 50-50. They're not. It doesn't take 50% the woman, 50% the man. The truth is, and I know I always like to push buttons. This is what we're here for. We're here to speak the truth. The truth is that relationships take processing properly by both people. 100%. That's 50-50. The processing needs to be 50-50. But the lead needs to be led by the man. And what do I mean by that? It means that it's up to him to say to her, I am going to take care of you. I am going to provide for you. I am going to create a space where you can be fully embodied in your femininity. And she might say, well, what does that even mean? And it's okay for him to go, we don't know yet, but I want to give you the platform that I'm taking the lead to give you that environment. And that's what I mean by it's not 50-50. It's not like she needs to go to him and be like, I need you to, I'm going to provide you a space for you to be a man. It's no. I'm a firm believer that he needs to show up fully and be the man of the situation. It's not patriarchal. It's not my way or the highway BS. It's none of that. It has nothing to do with that.
He needs to be he needs to initiate.
Correct.
Right. And when we look at like the yin yang, right, and we look at that flow of like giving and receiving, they're both giving and they're both receiving actually, but he's initiating the giving and then she's receiving, and then by receiving she gives to him. So I think that the word that you're, what you're describing when you're saying it's not 50-50, but he needs to create this space for her to find her femininity. He needs to initiate. And that's all well and good if we were like giving like kala classes or chassan classes, but most of our listeners are in the marriage. And there's a lot of baggage, and there's a lot of hurt, and there's a lot of shutting down, and there's a lot of men kind of retreating into their feminine, like they're retreating in like a protective way because their women are critical.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? And so I think that we should point right into there, not just like telling men what they should be doing or what they're ideally supposed to be doing, but more of talking about like the dynamics let's talk about the dynamic that comes up when the woman, let's say, criticizes and the man retreats.
Yeah.
Like, does thumbs up for people who are watching live if you recognize that dynamic, if you're a man or a woman, where the woman is critical and then the man retreats. Or kind of goes into a silent, small.
Yeah, I actually just made a video about it today, exactly about that. It's like when the criticism overflows and it's very, very nice.
Yeah.
When the criticism is overflowing, again, what is happening there is that she's not feeling safe. So how do we help her feel safe? Like, what do we talk about? From a man's perspective? From a man's
perspective, instead of shutting down or disappearing or shrinking, what does a man do when a woman is criticizing? This is good. Let's do this.
One of the things I teach and I talk about is I do a significant amount of preparation. It starts with mindset. Like, do you want to be a man that wants to fix this? Because I won't work with men that like, I'm nothing wrong with me. My wife sent me to you. And she says, I need to talk to you, but I don't see any problem with me. If your relationship is important to you and you recognize that, and you recognize that she's reaching out for help or you are reaching out for help, then you're somebody that is what we call the Kaylee, somebody that's willing to coachable. Exactly. Right. So on that level, that's step number one. Do you recognize you have an issue? Him particularly, and both of you. Number two, are you able to, what I call, put on your armor? And putting on your armor consists of this. It's, I'm sitting you down, I'm booking time with you, and I want to have, first, we have a little bit of eye contact. Then we each say 3 things that I appreciate about you. Not like your hair looks great today. It's more of like, you're an amazing mother, and that
was the third one, that the women wanted appreciation. Yeah.
Okay, good. So you start with, I say 3 things each. Not, like I said, not your hair is awesome, but you're an amazing mother. I really appreciate how you're helped raising our children. Another one would be like, I really appreciate how you take the time to work on our relationship together, even though it's difficult. Like you praise each other at least 3 times. Do more, do 100 if you need to, but at least 3 each. And then this is crucial, gentlemen. If you're listening, give a thumbs up. I don't know how many men or women are watching right now, but
a lot of women, a bunch of my women are here. I know a lot of you guys here. I'm so happy to see you here. So I see some men too. So I'm going to talk as soon as you finish this piece for the men. I'm going to say something very important to the men also.
So this is crucial for him to know. Say, I want to clear. I call it clearing the glass, clearing off the counter. I want you, my wife's name is Shayna. I want you, Shayna, right, to tell me everything that you're feeling right now that you want to get off your chest, and I am armored up. I am not going to try to solve it. I am not going to try to give solutions. I just want to hear it.
Yeah.
I just want to hear everything that is in your heart and all of your emotions right now.
So can I put a pause on that and just say that for gentlemen out there, if you can do this, like in this contained way that Yehuda is proposing, it's really cool. If you can become somebody who can do this on the regular, right? Like that's the goal, right? That it's just very sexy. Like meaning if you're being criticized and instead of taking the criticism and taking it personally, you're realizing, oh my God, my wife doesn't feel safe. How can I make her feel safe? One of the ways that I can make her feel safe is by putting on this armor, right? Which means that didn't hurt me, right? I'm not taking that personally. I'm strong. I don't want to be spoken to that way necessarily. I can talk about that, but I see that she needs strength right now from me. She doesn't need me to shrink and disappear just because she's criticizing me. She actually needs to feel safer. And right when I shrink and disappear, right, or slink off, or just get silent, or get moody, or whatever it is, I'm actually reinforcing that she's not safe because she doesn't have somebody here right now protecting her. So if in that moment of being criticized, gentlemen, if you can put on that armor, not take it personally, think, oh my God, she's saying this because of her fear. How can I help her, make her feel more safe? Well, the first thing is not to get hurt and not to shrink off and not to take it personally, but say, how can I help you? How can I help you feel safe? In the moment, it's magic. It's magic. It's one of the biggest things that will turn things around in a relationship.
One of my coaches told me once is the most attractive thing one of the most attractive things a man can do for a woman is keep his word. So that's one of my pillars. So how is that connected to what you're saying? Is because you are consistently, it's up to you, the man, to book the time. Like literally, I have it, the thumbs up. I have it in my calendar. I've done this for years, but it's still in my calendar for years ago. I just call it eye contact. My wife knows what that means. It means clearing the glass. It means like we are going to sit down and we are going to, clear this counter off. Whatever happened today, a fight, the kids, school, bills, money, whatever is on her mind emotionally, fear-based, happy-based, whatever it may be. But like I said, it's up to the man to take the lead to do that. Don't wait for her to do this. This is not her role. That's not what she needs to do.
Right. And
it's
this is not a tactic. This is like you can call it a tactic if you want, or, like a move if you want, but it really is just what's so needed, right? I think that just speaking for women, one of the biggest complaints about that women have about their husband is that they are not emotionally in tune. Thumbs up from women if you would agree with that. I have so many women who tell me my husband has Asperger's. My husband does not have Asperger's, but I felt this way. Like, it was like frustrating. Like, I can't get an emotion. I can't, right. And like, I can't get him to feel my emotions. I can't feel his, we're not having these conversations, right? When a man initiates, right. This is so funny. I remember my mom telling me that my dad would go his whole life without having an emotional conversation. Like this was like something that she told me, like just almost as a joke. And I was like, yeah, I know Abba, like, of course, right? But I wasn't married at the time, so I didn't realize, right, what that meant. But like, I think most people can say that unless they have like a more emotionally tuned in husband, or that they've trained them. Many men can go their whole life without having a conversation about their emotions. A woman can't go a day, right? A feminine woman can't go a day without that. And so this is like survival, right? Yeah. This is survival. But when it's not safe for either of them, right? And it's not just the man who's not making it safe for the woman. Very often the woman's not making it, safe for the man, right? Because she's criticizing him and she's shutting him down and she doesn't want to hear his, and all that stuff. But that move alone is so powerful, of just saying, I'm not just okay with you talking about your emotions. I'm taking the lead on checking in on this relationship and the emotional state of this relationship. That's like magic.
Everything gets boosted when you do that. And it takes time. You have to be repetitive. It gets difficult. Men, you're going to hear a lot of things you don't want to hear about yourself. Handle it. It's your job to handle it and to show up and be there and say, there's breathing techniques that you could do. There's all types of things that you can practice to be able to handle the difficult things. And then if something's really overboard, and this is obviously with respect, we don't belittle him, we don't bring him down, but if it's done properly, and she's like, often when it's happening in my relationship in the past, my wife would check in with me sometimes, like, are you sure you can handle this? Are you sure? And now it's at a place where she knows I can handle it, but it's good to check in. It's good to check in.
And I want to say something to women, if I could.
Of course.
If I could say something to women, because, I think that women have been taught two modes. Many women have been taught to just swallow whatever comes up, not, because they're supposed to be good wives and Ashes Chayils and stuff like that. And right. And so then they end up swallowing everything. And even these books that propose, like, don't control your husband. So what they end up doing is just kind of just living their own kind of very, very separate lives, right? So there's like, on one hand, it's like the woman who's been like silenced and she's repressing everything. And then on the other hand is the woman who just is told, speak your truth and, put it out there. And, just, you have to communicate, and every feeling has to be communicated. And I think that's, both of those can lead to trouble. And obviously the one where the woman goes silent and is swallowing everything is a recipe for some sort of explosion or affair or divorce or something, right? But the one where the woman is just putting it all out there and laying it on her husband without any sensitivity, like you said, and she's just speaking her truth. It needs to be done with a lot of caution. And I'm saying this to women because a lot of times the stuff that you're bringing up that are about your husband might not be about him at all. They might be about your own fears, and they might be about your own, right? Or they might be about like baggage from the past, and right, or your childhood that are being triggered right now. And it still needs to be said, but it's being said with way more intensity and way more, right, because it's a trigger and because it's coming from a deeper place. And to put all of that on your spouse, it needs to be done with caution. Like you said, your wife asks you, is it okay? Can you handle this? Is this okay? Yeah. And one of the reasons that it might be coming across so strong is because it was silenced, or because there was a buildup, or because it's not the first time, or because of my childhood. But I have to recognize that it might be that 20% of this is you, and then, 80% of this is my own stuff or our baggage or stuff like that. And so it's coming across very intense, and it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be given over that intensely.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, because there's two kind of avenues, and they grow. And I agree with you. It takes a respectful couple to deal with this. They should both be on board and be aware that this is happening. It's up to him to set it up. It's up to the man to set it up. Like, hey, we're going to talk. I'm going to be able to handle it. Keep going. It's up to her to be like, if she's going to dig into something heavy, maybe check in with them. Like, hey, I'm about to say something deep or, hard to hear. Like a classic one is, I don't feel like you're working hard enough to provide for our family. Huge. Like a man hearing that, you're just like, oh my God, you have no idea how hard I work. You have no idea how hard I work. You don't know what I get up. You don't know what I deal with every day. And so but here's again the onus, and I want to put a little bit of onus on the women in a second. I'll say something, but the onus on the man is take it. You have to handle that. Hear it. Work on yourself so that you can hear something like that. That you're not getting defensive. That you're not trying to solve it. That you're just saying, keep going. Tell me more.
To all my ladies out there, I hope your men are on because because I do the same. Like, I push the women and I put the onus on the women so much, but it's so great for them to because that's who I'm coaching, and they're coachable. And so they take so much responsibility for the relationship. But I love that you're putting this on the men.
Putting it on the men.
I love that you're putting this on the men, because I can't, because I'm not coaching the men. I'm coaching most of the time the women. So just keep going. And I think
we might start a joint practice together.
We might need to do that. You might need to send me all your men, and I might need to send you all your women, and vice versa.
The other way, yeah. But okay, so here's something on the women that's important for you guys to work on, to like recognize. And I want to hear your thoughts about this. When he is doing this and he is working on himself, and it's genuine, that it's not just some BS coach that told him to, like he really feels it, let him lead. You need to step back and let him. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to say some wrong stuff. He's going to fumble through some stuff. But the biggest the man can get in his ego, not his ego, his confidence, and even himself, to build himself up in a healthy way, is when you see him as a leader, when you see him as somebody who is a warrior and a provider in the family. So this is
Can
a
I
new thing.
share something personal?
Yeah, please.
I'm going to share something personal. So, so I have a lot of clients tell me this also, that their husband doesn't provide well enough, right? We live in this place and it costs $500,000 to the cost of living, and my husband's only making 300,000 and I have to kick it in, or, whatever it is. And, or any variation of that story where there's just not enough money, right? And the fact that they don't feel that there's not enough money becomes the complaint of, you are not being a good enough provider, which is not true. Which is not true, right? And again, you can push the men, but I want the women to realize that a man who spends 18, 17, 16 hours of his day working to provide, right, needs to be seen as a good provider in order to facilitate more shefa, right? Like, I need to receive it and he needs to give it, and this is what brings down the shefa, right? But if I'm saying, no, you suck, you're doing a terrible job, I don't have anything, you're messing it up. So then what a lot of women will try to do is they'll try to make him feel like a good provider, which is definitely a step up, right? Like, make him feel like a good provider, compliment him and stuff like that. It's definitely a step up, but it's not actually there, because you, women, I don't feel that way. If I'm trying to make you feel like a good provider so that you'll become a better provider and like just boost your ego, but I don't actually see you as a good provider, so then what I'm so I'm still feeling lack. I'm trying to take my lack and shift it by getting you to do, by complimenting you enough and building you enough. And that's really nice. But if I actually feel that lack, I'm going to keep manifesting more lack. I don't have to make you feel like a good provider. I have to recognize and feel that you are, for myself, a good provider, which means I have to take out my phone, which I've done this is real, and make a list of all the ways my husband provides for me. And that might mean fills my car with gas, and that might mean, calls my, second cousin that I was supposed to go to their wedding and apologizes for me, and whatever it means, right? And takes care of the kids when I'm feeling sick, right? Providing for me means providing and protecting, and right, and being there to care for me, and right, in a providing way. It does not necessarily mean dollars and cents. It means that he carries the burden of paying the bills, even if the bills are not fully paid right now, right? And so I have to, right, it's not about me making him feel like a good provider. It's me recognizing that he is providing and feeling well, and working on myself to feel well taken care of. And for me, at least, that was a massive shift. It was a massive
Correct. That's a bit of the onus on the woman. So like, we talked a lot of this conversation about, like, and I stand on my foundation of, like, it's up to the man to lead this whole process, everything, to let her know that this is the type of relationship I want to have. This is what I'm trying to work on. This is what I want to fix about myself. But there's a lot that the women can be doing. Like I said, what I hear you saying is what I was calling back on, of let him lead, let him be a leader, show him that you see him as a leader.
Actually,
let him make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes, and don't jump down his throat when he does.
Right.
As long as he's trying and he's not throwing off the yoke of his responsibility, and he's truly trying and he's truly showing up, like, take a moment to recognize that and thank him for it. And whatever your version of praise him is for it, don't be,
just trust him that it's okay. It might not be your way, and it might not be comfortable for you to see it done not your way because of the fear, right? But unless there's like an actual tremendous mismatch in intelligence and in functioning, which is very, very rare, but it does happen, where there's a couple where, one of them has an IQ of 120 and one of them has an IQ of, 80, and right, there's like an actual mismatch. Most of the mismatch between men and women is actually just masculine and feminine differences, right? And so I might process one way and my husband might process more slowly, because he's actually thinking about more eventualities and he's actually processing, right, like a man, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God, you just don't get it. Meanwhile, he's getting it deeper, right? And so it's like, okay, you don't understand me, you don't get it, right? And you're not doing it my way, and why didn't you think to do it my way? Who cares about my way? Who says my right? That's egotistical, and it's not respectful,
Yeah.
and it's diminishing, and right, and so yeah, if you want him to take the lead, it's not going to look like your way, right? So everyone's like, but then he'll mess it up. No, he won't mess it up. He just won't do it the way you would do it. But there's nobody ever said your way is better, right?
Yeah.
If we have two, semi normal, semi high functioning, reasonably high functioning adults, we can assume that both of their ways is fine and acceptable, and one of them is not a complete idiot, right? And it's just my own fear that's coming up.
Correct.
So right, and so I have to be, if I want him to take the lead, I have to be ready for things to look very, very, very different. I've talked about this with clients, that they say like, I can't let him take the lead. He won't know what to do. I'm like, you mean he won't do it like you, which is very different than he won't know what to do.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to look very different.
Exactly. Like we were saying, the whole idea of women in particular, in secular world, in the Jewish world, whatever it is, we are taught in this recent generation, I'm talking couple generations, that you are not safe. You're not safe for many reasons, for good reasons, by the way. It's dangerous to be a woman. And so what that changes in your mind, that changes in your body, to be very particular of what you let in and what you let go of. And so when you're in this environment of like, I grew up a certain way, I grew up trusting my parents maybe, or my dad, or whatever it was, and now I married this man and he's supposed to take care of me, but I have a certain way of operating, I have a certain way of thinking. And when we're coming, people like you and I are coming and we're saying, hey, let go, let him lead, let him take. And so it's like, it's very hard. Like, it's hard for the man to hear, handle the hard stuff, buddy, take it. It's hard for her to hear, let go, let him lead. Doesn't have to be your way. It's not going to be your way every time, but let go of this energy and to let in this leader that wants to provide. So that's big.
That's exactly it. So I actually just posted, I don't know, do you see the flow of all the people and the comments and stuff? Or
Yeah, I see a couple comments.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple questions, and so like maybe we'll just since we have about 15 minutes left, we'll just take turns like kind of answering them. So is it okay to teach a man? I keep telling them how to treat me. So yes, it just depends on how. I'm going to answer that. I'll choose one and then you choose one. But I would say that it's great to tell a man what you like, right? I love pizza. I love beaches. I love traveling, right? Right. So it's great to tell a man how you like and how you like to, be spoken to and what you like and stuff like that. It's not okay to criticize or control. And so you have to make sure that you're finding that line, right? And so it's a really good way to kind of check if you're on track is like, would I say this on a first date, or a second date, or a third date, or when we're engaged? Because I think when we're engaged or on dating, we kind of are in this state where we're relaxed and we're letting them take care of us, but we also are talking a lot about our likes and dislikes, and I do like that and I don't like that. But yeah, I think that men want to know what their wives like so that they can make them happy. There's nothing that a guy wants more than to make his wife happy. You want to take the next question?
I'll take one, but something very important. I know we talk about ideals, and ideally, when a woman is healing her femininity, I always tell the women I work with and the couples I work with, like, non-compromise. A woman should always speak from her desires, always, no matter what. Like even though it may be hard for him to hear, tell him your 100% truth. I think the ultimate femininity is being completely honest, especially with your desires. So that's connected to that question.
Take the next one. Can a man expect from his wife to budget with him? Shefa might be there if there's a budget in place. No, right? Meaning should men and women budget together?
It depends on what stage you guys are at.
Let's say 40. Let's say 40 years old, couple kids.
Oh no, I meant stage and working on your guys' stuff.
Good relationship.
A good relationship. I don't know if it's horrible. It's not like a bad thing. And it's also, I don't necessarily agree with like the man knows all the money and she doesn't know what's going on. If she wants to know, she should know. But ideally, again, I know we talk about ideally the role is to get into of like, I trust him with money. He's taking care of me. End of story. But he has to be a man that provides that environment for her. So it shouldn't be about budgeting or not. My wife calls me and she says, I want flowers in the house. Can I have a flower budget? It's not like I'm giving her permission to have a flower budget. She's telling me it's important for her to
You're
have
filling her
flowers.
desire.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not about the
She's
budget.
telling
It's
me
about filling the desire.
she's not asking for permission, and I'm not saying yes or no. She's telling me flowers in my house are important. So it's a significant difference of looking at it the way you position it. So that position is hard to answer,
and it comes
honestly, because
from both, and I think it comes from both sides, meaning she asking, right, I would love to go to the Bahamas is different than let's budget together about the Bahamas. And right, so their desire, I would love to go on vacation with you, and then him fulfilling that desire is very different than the two of them sitting down and getting into a budget with it. I prefer in the, in the ideal world, the first version. I would love to go to the Bahamas, and I would love for, I would love for us to go together. Can you make that happen? Can we make that happen? And then, and then letting him, right, what can we do? And then letting him work to fulfill that desire, as opposed to the two of them kind of, hashing out the budget together.
So I made a video the other day, and the first line was women relate to money out of safety. They need to feel safe.
That was so good. That was so good.
Men relate to money as accomplishment. So let him deal with the accomplishment aspect of it. And if you feel like you want something in your life, talk to him about it. It's not a permission thing. It's speak about it. Speak from your desires. I think a woman's role is to speak from her desires.
Speak from her desire, because the beauty is that then when he's able to fulfill that desire, it's a gift from him to her, as opposed to just something that just like, we pay the bills or whatever.
This is all,
and I
this is all connected to Kabbalistic and Torah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The Kabbalistic ideas of the no Satan and the Makabal and the Shefa coming down, but also of just the masculine and feminine, the traditional masculine and feminine roles, right? It was always that the man was the breadwinner, right? And the marriage contract was actually, I will take care of you, I will clothe you, and I will feed you. And then people get all their panties up in a bunch because it says that the woman's money becomes the man's, right? And they have a total misunderstanding of what that means. I work, right? And that line doesn't bother me at all. It makes me delighted, because it makes me realize that I'm working because I have strengths and I have talents, and it's a good use of my time, and it feels accomplishing for me. But at the end of the day, I'm not in charge of the money in the home. That's the masculine job. And so I just leave, right? So it's his because it's his responsibility, because it's his responsibility to provide. It's not his because he gets to keep my money and because I have no right to work. It's his because he's the one who has the burden of making sure that this family's well provided for. And so it's his responsibility, right? It's his the money is his, meaning it's his responsibility, right? And so, right, but as a woman, right, just kind of falling into those roles with all the things that we hear nowadays with feminine and stuff like that, it can feel very unsettling for people. Like, why should he have my money? It's my money, right? But it's kind of like, we need to understand the deeper context of what the male and female roles were, and where the woman's money tied into all of that. But it used to confuse me very much. Now I think it's delightful. Now I think it's wonderful.
That's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
We'll take one more question. I know there was one earlier. What about some men naturally seem more feminine? This is up high from Mac.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question.
I know Mac, by the way. He's an old friend.
Hey, Mac. We all know you.
I don't know if you're still on, but great to see you. Okay, what about some men naturally seem more feminine and some women more masculine, possibly influenced by their upbringing or inheritance? They're not related to their current, or unrelated to their current relationship. So there's a quick way to answer that, and there's a depth. I'll do the quick one. The quick is, we are programmed, like I said, in today's society to generally not appreciate polarity. And when we talk about it that way, when you have an upbringing where man might be a little bit too feminine or she's more masculine, it's because she was probably in an environment where she had to feel protected and safe and protect her safe to put on more masculine traits. And he was probably in an environment that didn't have a proper masculine role model around in whatever fashion or way, and he became a lot more feminine. That's the short answer to that. How to get out of that and why that stuff happens in society. That's a whole nother live in itself.
Yeah, we got to do another one of that.
Oh, we will. It sounds like we have a lot of fans on here, so that's great. Any last questions or anything pressing?
I want to put everybody's attention to a Tony Robbins article. You guys can look it up for yourselves, or you can ask me about it later. But this is how this happens. So it's from Tony Robbins. A little girl is born with a feminine polarity, like a normal girl. She's feminine. Little girl stage 2. A little girl learns to create a masculine mask in childhood. This happens when either her mother teaches her never to become dependent on a man, or her father dominates and wants to make her stronger. This is one way. There's many ways, right? Stage 3, a little girl learns to put a feminine mask over her masculine mask. This happens when a girl sees men attracted to other females who are truly feminine. Stage 4, a woman learns to put on a strong masculine mask. This happens when a woman gets hurt in these adult relationships, right? So it's a mask on a mask on a mask on a mask. And for little boys, so a man with a masculine core, a mask is created. Stage 1, a little boy is born with a masculine polarity, normal, right? I'm calling it normal. Sorry for not being politically correct. Stage 2, a little boy learns to create a feminine mask in childhood. This happens when he has a powerful father that dominates, or a mother who teaches him that being masculine is bad and rewards pleasing behaviors. Stage 3, a boy learns to put a masculine mask over his feminine mask. This happens when a boy realizes that he's not attracting females. Stage 4, a man learns to put on a strong feminine mask. This happens when a man has been hurt by women, right, and learns to please them or needs to protect himself, right? So this is like the gist of it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think on the man thing, I want to add one. I think Tony Robbins missed is that when a man becomes passive, when they give up and become passive,
the fourth, yeah,
it's actually quite feminizing of the man.
Yeah.
Because a lot of men just don't want to deal with stuff, and they actually become passive, and that's actually very feminine aspect of him, and he needs to break that. You gotta go out. It's our job to hunt the tiger. We don't send the women out to hunt the tiger. We have to go face the monsters. That's our job.
One of women's biggest complaints when their man when their man goes passive, or when he just retreats, right? You know, even if it's for good reason, even if she's been critical, and even if whatever it is, but don't do that. Don't do that.
No, you never give up.
Don't do that. That'll destroy everything. Men, please, if you want your relationship back, just come back, get some armor. And like Yehuda was saying, take it, get some armor and come back and take it, even if you're being criticized and even if you're being, knocked down and whatever it is, because it's the only way back is to show back from strength. And
to give a little support on the men for that. Like, it's hard having
and women, you gotta soften. Just soften.
Yeah, you gotta soften, you gotta let go. For the men who's putting on armor, it's hard, it's scary. Find yourself a men's group, find yourself a coach, find yourself men who are going through this, and a support system. Don't do it on your own. It's difficult. Have somebody that's with you in the trenches and can help you through it. We'll do a quick closing statement. I'll say mine, you can say yours. Somebody asked earlier, I just wanted to if they're still on or watching the recording, they asked what the steps are to sit your wife down and speak.
Oh yeah.
Eye contact. Start with eye contact. As long as you can hold it, the longer the better. At least a minute. 3 things you really deeply appreciate about each other, and clear the glass. Tell her, set her up in a beautiful way. I want to hear everything you have to say to me. I am not going to criticize or try to solve. I want you to trust that you can do that. And it takes time. It's not going to happen once. Hopefully it does, but it takes time for her to trust to, like, you really want to hear what I'm saying? You really want to hear? And if you just hold your SHIT together and handle it, the more she will trust that you can keep going deeper, deeper, deeper. And this is what creates her feminine frame, and that creates your masculine frame to handle hard stuff. So that's my closing statement. And then I have 5 pillars you should take away and write this down at the end of the recording.
Yeah, right.
One,
Go for it. Say it. Yeah.
keep your word. Set healthy boundaries. Be consistent. Develop a healthy armor, and 100% make an environment, work on an environment for her to show up as her feminine self. There's your 5 stuff.
I actually have 5 of mine too. So I'm gonna just pause right there 1 second. Just pulling up my notes there. Number 1, speak your truth and your desire. Number 2, let him lead. Not just let him feel like a leader. See him as a leader, right? Let him lead and see him as a leader, right? And trust him and his leadership. Communicating your needs softly, like with softness. Communicating your desires with softness is part of the same thing, right? And operating from the feminine flow. And when I say operating from the feminine flow, that's the Bina Yasera. That's the Bina Yasera that says, even though I'm right, right? Even though I'm right, there's a way, right? And I can figure out a way. Like I'm at my sister's house right now. She's so smart. She's such a great wife, right? She says, like, I really want to come to you guys for this and this, but my husband's never going to agree. I have to figure out a way for him to think of it. Okay, that's Bina Yasera, right? It's not manipulative. It's working with his masculine energy that it needs to come from him, right? And so we can be smart. It's not being manipulative. We were given a Bina Yasera. We were given a feminine intuition, not to crush the man and show him how right we are all the time, and then just, men walking around with T-shirts that say my wife is always right. It's not what the Bina Yasera is for. It's not extra smartness because we're always right. It's an extra measure of intuitiveness that we can use to create this, to create a beautiful relationship, right? And to use our creative flow and to use our creative energy and to use this wisdom to figure out what's the best way to go about this, right? So I do need to bring up this conversation, or I do need to ask for something, or I do need to even ask for a behavior change, but I can do it with my feminine flow. I can do it with my Bina Yasera. I don't have to just like that. So that would be probably one of the most important ones, just to be soft like that, to soften. Okay, everyone. So thank you for joining. It's so amazing to see so many of you on. I guess you guys, most of you know where to reach me because it's on my thing, but maybe if you want to tell some people how to reach you.
Yeah, give me a follow, Men of Integrity Life on Instagram. And
mine is YBK Coaching, and there a bunch of people also asked me if there will be a recording. I'm going to very gently and delicately X this away and follow the steps. I'm not great with these things, but I'm going to follow the steps and try to make sure that it gets saved, so that if anybody wants the recording, we could make sure that they'll have it. All right, everybody. Okay.
Thank you so much, Basya, and we'll talk soon.
All right, be well.